Last fall, I realized I didn't want to be a content machine anymore, and I decided that I was okay with the consequences of that. I was so tired of adding to the noise just because I was supposed to. Tired of feeling like the measure of a healthy business was how often I posted, how perfect my funnel was, or how loudly I could show up online. So I took a step back. I got quiet. And instead of asking, what should I be doing this year, I asked a very different question. What actually matters to me, to my business, to the people I serve? And honestly, the pause changed a lot for me. So as we head into this new year, I want to share 5 decisions I'm making this year that might sound a little unconventional. If you know me, you know I'm cool with that. But they also feel more peaceful, more sustainable, and more human than anything I've tried before. So if you've been feeling this same thing, the weight of more in your business, I hope that this episode gives you the permission to choose a different way, your own way. Let's dive in. Hey there, creative business owners. Welcome to the Higher Purpose Marketing Strategy Podcast. I'm Ashley Conway, and for over 20 years, I've been helping creative businesses as a marketing expert and copywriter. If you've ever felt like your branding or marketing is holding back your business's growth, and you're over being on the DIY hamster wheel, you're in the right place. Each week, I'll walk you through simple, story-filled strategies to build a harmonious marketing system that attracts your ideal high-paying clients without the overwhelm. Ready to make marketing work for you? Let's go. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the first podcast episode of 2026. If you are a regular follower, subscriber to the show, you'll notice that I went a little quiet in November with not as many episodes, and in December with only one coming out, and that was an interview with my good friend Katie Suk. This is the deal, people. I really felt last fall this longing to take a step back. I felt like, and you may think this too when I explain it, there was so much information coming from everywhere. Every business owner, every person on Instagram, we're all out there talking about, this is what we can do for your business. This is how we can help you. And honestly, when you're scrolling through and you're talking to other people, it feels like too much. And I started to feel that. And I wanted to, instead of contributing to all the noise just for the sake of doing it, because that's what you're supposed to do, right? Put out this regular, at least weekly content. And, it's gotten to the point where it feels like content creation is the most important thing. And I just hated that. And I just felt this pressing on me that it was time to take a step back and reevaluate, why am I putting my voice out there? Why am I adding to the content, the noise, the information that's out there? Because I didn't just want to do it for the sake of doing it because you're supposed to, or because that's the right formula. I never want to operate like that. I want to do these things. I want to do the things in my business with great purpose and intention. And if I feel like they're losing purpose, then I'm okay with losing some, with my stats dropping, with losing some downloads and some listeners. I'm fine with that. That's not why I'm in it anyway. And I would rather take a step back and know that my heart is in it for the right reasons. And that's why I'm just now coming to you in the second full week of January. I am going to be making some small changes to the pod this year, but it's not going anywhere because I love this format. I love being able, to create sort of a community. I know it feels one-sided, but I always love to hear your comments, your feedback, your questions. Any of that is always welcome. And I love the ability to do it this way. So all that to say, what is coming out in this episode today is the product of that time I spent stepping back to say, I don't want to be a content machine right now. Let's take some time this fall to really think about what is What's the purpose of all of this? So I came out of that time with 5 things that I am going to focus on in 2026. These are unconventional things, not the advice you're going to hear on Instagram or from your favorite influencers or probably other marketing podcasters. Because if you've been here for a hot minute, you know that for me, I could care less about what the trend is, what the experts are saying, what the magic formula is. I don't even think that's a thing. I think having your own business, running your own business, it has to be built around who you are, what matters to you, your heart, why you're in this, why you have a business at all, why you're serving the people you serve. I think your business and your marketing has to be built around that. So that means my advice is going to be a little unconventional. And, that's why I run a business called Be Weird Marketing, because I want to embrace that. So, all that to say, let's get into these top 5 things that I'm going to be focusing on in 26 and use it as inspiration for you. Maybe some of these you want to adopt for yourself. Maybe it's a matter of just getting your brain off the normal, accepted wisdom kind of our day and to think, do I have to do it that way? Do I have to do it the conventional way? My response is no, you don't. So let's jump in. The first thing I'm going to do is do less, care less. Now, I stole this. I went to an in-person mastermind here in Utah in the month of December. It was like 3 weeks in a row, and it was a small group with other female entrepreneurs like me, that are kind of in my area. And one of the girls was saying that she had gotten this advice a while ago to do less, care less. And I know that seems like the dumbest thing you've ever heard, right? But I think for somebody, at least with her personality and mine, we go really hard in our whole lives, but especially in business. I mean, I so often find myself thinking of ideas or my clients or problems I'm trying to solve when I wake up in the morning, before I go to bed, when I'm in the shower. And I don't want to be thinking about those things before I go to bed, but it's so natural to care so much about this, to care so much about my clients, even to the point that I probably take on too much of caring about a business that's not mine. My clients' business is wanting them to succeed, to connect, to find the right clients, to have the businesses that they are dreaming of. I want that for them so much that I think about it all the time. And that's not healthy, honestly, for my own mental health. So, and it's not just the thinking, it's, the urgency that you give your business. When you get something from a client, do you feel like you need to drop everything and respond or work on it or help them? And I do. Honestly, this is something I want to work on. I want to do less and care less in 2016. Number 2, I want to be less about content and more about connection. And this is something I disagree about with some of my own coaches. I have been given advice from multiple people who are much bigger in business than I am. And this is their take of what's happening right now. AI is not going anywhere. We all knew that. And people are going to be using AI to create more and more content. I mean, this robotic system, this AI is so good that it can create a photo of you, a reel of you that looks just as realistic as what you can create on your own. That's insane. So people are going to take advantage of that, and they're going to be creating, it's going to be 5 times, 10 times the amount of content that they were creating before AI. And so the advice of these experts is to create more and more content ourselves, to almost try to keep up with the AI output as best as we can, but to make it more authentic, more obviously unrobotic, more obviously human. And I understand that, but there is just something in me that says, oh no, I am not going to become a content machine who tries to keep up with AI. That seems ridiculous. Are we in the days of Terminator or what? Now, granted, I can only remember like 5% of that movie, but moving on. So I'm not doing that. There is nothing in me that feels like creating even more content, adding even more noise to what's out there is a good idea. So I'm going to focus less on content. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not getting off of Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all the things. I still think they're important, but I'm going to put less focus on that. And I'm going to honestly do less, care less about those particular things. I'm going to keep an eye on my data, but I am using those platforms for credibility to show that the light is on, but I'm not going to put all of my eggs in that basket of thinking that's where my best leads and my best clients are going to come from. I'm not going to do that this year. What I am going to prioritize, and I've already started, is connection with real people, real life people, whether it's in a Zoom room or it's in like this in-person mastermind in my own area, whether it's in things like that, like actually knowing people's faces and names. That's what I want to prioritize because that's the way I like to work with my clients. I don't want you to be a faceless, nameless, one time person. I want to know you. I want to know where you live and do you have kids and what's your beverage of choice? Is it Coke Zero like mine? Do you love coffee? What's your thing? I want to know the people I work with because I think that's an important part of our businesses is who we are as individuals and I want to know that about my people. So I'm emphasizing connection, real person connection over mass production content. I don't want to be a factory. I mean, that's great for a car, but I don't want that for my own business this year. Number 3, and I alluded to this before, I am going to treat my website, my social media platforms, and even to a certain extent, this podcast as a way to establish credibility is kind of the official marketing language to, like I said, to show my light is on. I do have an expertise. I've been in this, over 20 years now. So I know what I'm talking about, and I'm going to use those avenues as ways to just be an industry expert in marketing and to establish that I know what I'm talking about. And the difference is this, I'm not going to look at those avenues as ways to bring in business necessarily. So when you're looking at your website, your main things, you're like, right? A home page, an about page, service page, contact page. Maybe you have one other. I'm not going to look at those pages as ways to bring me business because I don't think that's the way it works anymore. I think we hear about someone we want to work with, either from some kind of a connection, or we do hear them on a podcast and we are thinking, maybe I want to work with this person. At the very least, I want to get to know them a little better. If we're going to their site, it's just to see, are they professional and legit? That's where I think we're at in 26. I don't think it is to go to someone's website, convince me to work with you. I don't think we're doing that anymore. I think it really is about knowing someone, getting to know someone as an individual and as a professional, and just getting, for lack of a better term, really liking their vibe, getting to know them, liking them, trusting them, connecting with them. Even if it's not personally, you just really feel like, I really like this person. I like what they're about. I like their jokes. I like the way they phrase things. I just think they're my people is what I call it. I think that's what it's really about. And that's what your website's about. And it's what your social's about. It's about giving your personality and showing that you know what you do and not depending on those things to bring you business. It's the actual real people connections that are going to bring you business in 26. Number 4, and my husband is still baffled at this, I'm not setting goals this year. I am a type A, real go-getter type of person. So goals come naturally to me. I set goals all the time. But there is something, again, in me that is just saying, not this time. I have attended for even a couple of years these retreats at the beginning of the year with other business owners, and we spend this time creating visions and kind of reevaluating our missions and is that still what we're about? And then you go into, quarterly goals and monthly goals and then break them down into weekly goals. And that sounds exhausting. And I'll tell you why. Because every time I spend this huge chunk of time and mental energy outlining those things, it never fails that it changes so drastically throughout the year and not too soon after the year starts, honestly. By March, those plans can be like poof, you've learned things. The market is changing. What your customer needs is changing. There are so many things that are in flux that I feel like it's a waste of time what I spent at the beginning of the year outlining all of these incredible plans. And I don't want to spend my limited energy that way. So I'm not doing that. What I do feel that's going to work best for me this year is to just create a very short list of monthly priorities, because I do usually know at the beginning of the month, like, this is the thing that I need to focus on right now, that I need to either accomplish or think about or create a plan or whatever it is in order to move my business one step ahead. I usually know what that is. And I'll give you the example. Like, I know for January, I'm rebuilding my site on a new platform. So I need to work on that. I need to get brand photos done. Oh my gosh, this is a can that I have been kicking down the road for at least a year. At least a year. I just don't want to do it. But it's time. It's time to get that done. So I know I need to get that done. And then there's like a couple other really minor things that wouldn't take very long. But those are the two priorities for this month. Like, those are the two things that are holding me back, and I feel it. So that's going to be my very simple goal for this month. Work on my site, get brand photos done, which is a part of the site. That's it. And then at the end of January, I'm going to stop and take a step back and do a check-in and say, what's now the thing that needs to be, addressed? Because honestly, I know it's like, well, are you thinking about the things several steps ahead? Sure, I do that anyway, but I don't need a formal goal around that. What I need a formal goal around is, what's the next right step just for this month? What's the next right step? That feels right to me. I'm not saying that's right for everyone. I'm not saying any of these steps are right for everyone. The point of this whole discussion is to say, what if you don't do it the conventional way? What if you choose the uncommon path? That's okay. I mean, I say it over and over again. There is no one size fits all. There is no cookie cutter. This is your business built around you, who you are, your life, your goals, not just business goals, but your life goals. What kind of life do you want to live? Your business should be built around that, not your life around your business. And that's hard for me too. All right. So that was number 4. No goals, just monthly priorities. Number 5, last one, is simplicity is greater than systems. I've had this business for a long time, and I learned the hard way. I was so used to working, on my clients' businesses, and they do have much larger businesses with very formal systems, and everything's mapped out. And I went into being a business owner thinking that's how mine needed to work. So I would get an idea to offer something new, and I would build the system around it. Because to me, that was part of, like, your due diligence. That was what you did. That's how you created something new. And so what I did was I created an offer, a service, before I even knew if it was something that was a good fit for for my ideal client, and I built this big system around it. And then I found I needed to make changes to it. But the system was already so big and complex, I couldn't do it. Like, it was a struggle and a challenge to try to make tweaks to this thing I wanted to offer, because it was now the big system holding me back. Like, I needed to reach out to my systems expert, and I needed to try to make my website work with my CRM, work with my payment processor. And I'm like, this is it's like I've tied my own shoes together, so to speak, where every step I try to take, I'm going to fall on my face because I've made it so complicated to be nimble, to be flexible, to make changes, to build something, unique for one person. I've made that impossible because I thought I needed a big system. So, and that's part of the reason that I'm doing a website rebuild this year, is because I do want to be flexible. I do want to see a need. If two or three of my clients or my potential clients say something, I want to be able to build that and offer it quickly without being held back by my own systems. So that's why I'm migrating to this, kind of new platform. I know the tech is, complicated even for me, learning all of this new tech. So those were the 5 things for me that I'm focusing on this year. Do less, care less content, more connection. I'm using my, all of my platforms, my web, my social, podcast, as more credibility, and just putting more of myself out there and less depending on it to bring me actual clients. Number 4, I'm emphasizing monthly priorities over goals. And number 5, simplicity is greater than system. Simplicity is going to be one of the most important things in my business this year. I don't want to push and hustle and feel like it's so hard. I want business to be simpler. And those are the 5 things that I'm working on this year. I hope that just me sharing the ideas kind of gets your wheels turning, where you think, what could I do differently this year? Do I have to do things the way I always have? Or can I do something a little different, create something simpler, simplify the steps that it takes to get something out there? Does everything have to be? And here's an example that I talked about with a friend last year. If you want to test offering something new, do you need this formal, beautiful landing page with all of this information on it? Or can you create a Google Doc and put it in there? Like, are there simpler ways? And we can use AI for that. Is there a simpler way, a really scaled back, bare bones way, just to test something out? And that's an example of just going a little bit different way. So like I said, I hope this was an inspiration. It gets your wheels turning. I look forward to all the things that we're going to talk about in this year. And I'm just believing this is going to be a great year for my business, for all of you as listeners. And I appreciate you tuning in here with me as we learn and grow our businesses together.
Thanks for listening to today's show. For all things podcast, including transcripts, extra resources, and a place to submit questions for the show, visit higherpurposemarketingstrategy.com. I'd also love for you to do me 2 quick favors. 1, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and 2, share this episode with your colleagues. And that's a wrap. Meet you back here next week.